Well, hey everybody, this is Wisconsin Shoe Guy, and I'm back, and this is a new phone. I hope the sound is coming through okay. I'm on cinematic mode, so I'm not going to be moving the camera around or moving the shoes around too much, but I want to do an unboxing. This is a very special pair of shoes. Allen Edmonds, for their 100th anniversary, ran a promotion where they brought back three different styles of shoes in one or two colors each, and they only made 100 pairs. So I was fortunate enough to get on that list, and so this is a limited edition of 100, and they have a little letter in here. It's the first time I'm seeing this, and so talk a little bit about what it is. You know, with gratitude, you bought one of these pairs. I was a little freaked out because I saw that the pairs were listed as stock on the box, but here they have this is a divided bag, which is much nicer than the existing bags that I have, although the material is more of like a linen than the flannel that a lot of them are. But here the shoes are. I bought Macneil's. Everybody knows I have an affection for long wings. Very excited about. So, but let's just take a look at this bag. So it looks like the regular double bag that they've always had. And, well, not always, but have had at least for the last couple of years. And you can see they have that divider in there. So it really is for two shoes. I like the way they did that. It's a very economical way of taking what they have done in the past and making sure that they did it. And also note that this now says 100 years and counting, which is cool because that's also a new thing for the shoes. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna move the box out of the picture, and we're just gonna take a look at these. I'm gonna take a seat, and we're gonna look over these shoes. Now, as I look at them, you know, the first thing you do with Allen Edmonds is I always look at the welt. And you can see this welt joint, while not perfect, is not like super ugly or anything like that. This is all sanded down. They didn't use the machine to do it. Looks fairly good. Almost looks like it was done by hand. I mean, when I say they don't use the machine, excuse me, they actually have a machine that leaves a groove on the top and on the bottom. And they didn't use that. So they might have used a grinder. I don't know. There's some funkiness here where the welt has kind of an uneven sanding. Now, I want you to think about this, right? I'm looking at this and I'm trying to be very critical. But if I'm shining the shoes, a lot of times what I'll do when I'm shining, and I know that all the professionals do this, is they will sand this area by hand before they apply edge dressing. So if you sand this, this will be gone. So that's not really a big deal. You can see that the storm welt here was pushed down, so it's uneven. Now I can fix that simply by doing this and pushing it back up. And now nobody will ever notice that again. So again, not a big deal, but these are the kind of things that some of these shoe guys really spend a lot of time looking at. So I want to make sure I point them out and give you my opinion on them. Now, if we look at the stitch density on these, now the stitches are actually really close to the welt, which is good. Sometimes they're too close to the edge. But these are pretty good. And it is like this side, the stitch density is slightly more dense than it is on this side, especially up here. Looks like they were a little loose with it, but not bad. Now, you know, Allen Edmonds has a reputation for not channeling the stitching and so forth. And while I can feel the edge because it looks like they channeled it on the rough side, and I can kind of feel the stitches with my hand, which you're not supposed to be able to do. They're supposed to channel them deeper than that. But it is, relatively speaking, a good job. Now, all the cobblers that I know would object to that, but I'm comparing it to the other Allen Edmonds that I have. I don't have any ugly stitching here, and you know, this is actually pretty good comparatively. Most of the stitches are even and at the same depth. Now, I would prefer that they be inset so that you don't actually feel this groove at all, other than the fact that it's a groove. And I can feel on my fingers here the actual stitching, which is not good. Now, some of that is tension just from the sole, but that's kind of my opinion and the way I see it. So now it says Alan Edmonds, Port Washington. It doesn't have any of the bench welt or any of the things that were there in the past. Notice they have like a V-tread heel on it, which is the new thing that they're doing. And then on the inside, they have the special logo, which is Alan Edmonds Macneil Wingtip Limited Edition 2022, both forwards and backwards, and then it says AE100. So you know that it is actually from the right thing, and they did do the walnut. Now, one of the things that I used to not like about different sizes in Alan Edmonds is that they use the same, because they're a very big mass-produced factory, and I think a lot of people don't necessarily know this, is that they'll use the same, basically starting point for several sizes of shoes for the actual closed leather start thing. So like if you think about how they make a shoe, right, they cut out all the different pieces, they sew it all together, they sew it with the lining, right, and then they basically have this form, and then what they do is they form it over different size lasts. Now they have maybe, I don't remember if it's 6 or 7 different sizes that they use, because obviously, you know, Alan Edmonds goes from like size 5 or 6.5 all the way to size 16, right? So they have to have different sizes of it. But depending on the size that you get, the proportion is going to be a little different of where the wingtip lies and so forth, because they're taking the same piece of leather and they're just moving it over a different size last. So now this is a 10.5, and I used to stay away from 10.5s because I didn't like the way that this proportion was, but I never had a 10.5 Macneil. I always went with an 11.5 Macneil. And now that my feet have stopped shrinking after losing a lot of weight, I feel pretty good about the 10.5 size. And I've bought another pair in 10.5 and it worked out fine. So this is the way that this sits on here. And if you look at the way that it's lasted, the medallion is very, very close to being centered. Like this line here is maybe a little off center, but not bad. This one too. So they're pretty good. Now, a lot of people will say, oh, first or second quality, blah, blah, blah. Well, listen, it's important to note, big mass-produced factory. What they do is they look at the degrees that something is off center. And remember, some of this is not supposed to be centered, and I think that's really important to note. As people who wear shoes, we're not necessarily as in tune with how they want that to be. But in this particular case, this is all what I would consider to be first quality work. I don't see anything on the shoes that's so bad, and none of it is bad, right? But nothing that is, you know, off where I would say that it's supposed to be second quality. So now you look at the stitching here. Now this stitching is a little bit out of the groove, but most of it is in the groove. And again, I can feel the stitching, but it's not bad. Now this one doesn't have anything that's clearly out of the groove. So it's just this one stitch here. But again, that's not bad enough that I would say this should be a second. So I'm glad that I got these. I'm glad that, you know, I gave them another try because I was a little perturbed with the work that they had done on a pair of boots that I bought right here. But this is better. Still not what I would consider to be high quality. Like if I look at Carmina, Crockett & Jones, Loke, any of the other really major Goodyear welted brands outside of Alden, the stitch density is going to be higher. The depth of the welt is going to be higher. I mean, all of this would be better. But Alan Edmonds is Alan Edmonds, and I'm only comparing them to themselves. And for them, this is pretty good work. So really happy with the way they turned out. I'm excited to wear them and can't wait to get them on the hoof. So thank you very much for watching. This is Wisconsin Shoe Guy, and I'm out.